Hello, crafty friends. Welcome. I'm so glad you're joining me today. I have a trio of cards that I'm going to be sharing in this video, and they're all very different from one another. So in this video, you're going to see a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And let's start out with a stitching video. How many of you liked stitching on your card fronts? Well, I happen to really enjoy it. And there is a new set from Spellbinders, and it is called Stitched High. I love the size of this, and it doesn't involve a lot of stitching, but it is really cute, and it cuts out this shadow piece here, as well as the letters. And this is what they look like all together. I decided to swap out this pink high for a green one, so I'm going to use some Peridot green. I was also going to use this Dahlia pink for the shadow piece, but I end up using the white one. Sometimes I have to cut these dies out several times before I settle on a color scheme that I like. I went ahead and stitched this with some blue string. I've done a lot of these stitching videos in the past, and so I'm not really going to show you the stitching today, but I do like to glue two pieces together in heavyweight cardstock. This just makes it really substantial and harder to bend. So I'm going to glue the green cardstock on top of the white and line that up. And then I can begin my stitching. I like that the dot over the eye is separate. It's really a cute touch. So let's glue the dots together. The stitching is very simple and fun to do, and I will link some of my stitching videos at the end of this video if you want to watch one of those. But I stitched that off camera, and here it is all done. I love the green and the blue together. So I'm going to put this on the front of an A2 sized card, which is 5.5 by 4.25. But it just needed a little something else, so I'm bringing in another set of dies called Leafy Sprig. I always like to pop up my stitched pieces with some foam squares, so I'm adding a lot of foam squares behind these pieces. And then I can attach it to the white shadow piece. I'm bringing in some smaller foam squares to put behind the dot. And then I can just attach this to the shadow piece. Now my card base is going to be white as well. And to enable this high sentiment to stand out, I'm going to pull in some ink. The stitching adds some really fun texture to your cards as well. I love the thread on these cards. And this is all ready to go. Let me give you a close-up look at this. I just think they're so pretty. And here is the Leafy Sprig die set. I love large leaf dies. You can use them for so many different things. And I'm going to use this one behind my high sentiment. But to allow the high to stand out, I'm using some Prize Ribbon Distress Oxide, and I'm just going to put down a very light ink blending of that on this white sheet of paper. I'm tapping it off to the side so I don't get any harsh lines, but it's going to be very subtle, as you can see. I cut out the Leafy Sprig with more of the green Peridot, and I'm adding some Dahlia pink leaves on top. This set is really fun because it has the separate leaves that you can glue on top. There are 7 separate leaf dies, and you have to find the one that fits exactly over the leaf on the sprig. And I am just gluing those down flat, but you could add dimension behind them too. I think that would look really pretty. And I'm not going to be covering each leaf with a pink leaf, just about 4 of them. As you can see, I'm trying to find the leaf that fits the petal or the sprig leaf exactly. And then I'm even gluing it on just a little askew so you can see the green underneath it. So let's add one more. This is such a fun, versatile set. And then this leaf sprig is going to go right above and kind of behind the high. So I'll glue this down flat. And I just have my high sentiment there as a placement. I haven't glued that down yet. Now that my leaf sprig is attached to the panel, I'm going to add some more liquid glue behind the high. And then just attach this over the sprig. Spellbinders recently released a bold alphabet set that's similar in size to the letters on this high. And that's a really fun set too, because you can make your own sentiments with that. So let's attach this to a white card base. And then I am going to pull out some green gemstones. Just add a little bit of sparkle to the front of this card. I usually add 3 different gems in different sizes. And then this card was going to be done, but I decided to add an additional sentiment to this. So I'm going to add a glimmer foiled sentiment using some pretty blue foil. This is a new set from Spellbinders too. It's called Just Wanted to Say Glimmer. There are 8 different sentiments in this set. And I'm going to use the one that says, just wanted to say ... And I'll cut that out with a narrow sentiment die strip. I'll attach this using some liquid glue. I'm just trying to place the glue where it's going to hit the high sentiment. And I did fishtail one of the ends. And now this card is done. And here is a close-up look. I really love this color scheme of blue, green, and pink. So for my next card, I'm using a die set from Spellbinders called You're Amazing. I liked this one because the sentiment really is amazing looking. And then you get this beautiful strip die that reminds me of something from the 1920s. But here is the sentiment. I just love how that is styled. I cut it out with black cardstock. I cut out this die strip using some wildberry cardstock. I'm going to create a wide slimline card with this. I wanted to be able to fit 2 of these die strips together. So I'm going to attach them to a piece of Portobello cardstock. And to do that, I'm going to use my dot liner just around the edges of this strip and then behind the centers of these flourishes. I'll line it up to the edge of the cardstock. I love those 2 colors together. I think they look so pretty. And I'll do the same with the second strip. I'll just go around the edges and then in the centers of these flourishes. And then once I have this down, I'm going to use my long sharp scissors to cut around the edges. And that's going to be the width and height of this card. And it measures a little over 3.5 by 6 3/4. So it's kind of an unusual size, but it is so pretty I didn't want to cut any of it down. And you could, of course, create a slimline card with it and just put it down the center of your slimline, in which case this piece would have a wide border around it. I'm going to use the same leafy sprig die to cut out some sprigs using, again, the wild berry and then some pink sand. This is going to be a very subtle decoration at the bottom. And I'm going to glue these down flat just using more liquid glue. I'll put the pink one down first. And then so you can see the wild berry leafy sprig better, I'll put that one kind of overlapping the first one. And then the sentiment I'm going to glue down flat as well. This was a really fast card to put together. It consists totally of die-cut pieces. but I just could not resist this very stylized and pretty sentiment. I had to create my own card base for this. Lastly, I'm adding a few peach sequins around this panel. And then I can use more liquid glue to attach this to my card base. I don't often stray from the standard American sizes of cards, but this one was totally worth it. It just looks so old-fashioned and pretty. Looking at it now, I think it would have looked really pretty with a sequin in the center of each of the flourishes. But next time I'll do that. For card number 3, I'm using a new set. This is called Merry Everything Words. It comes with a fun tag and the little hole for the tag. And then with these word dies, you can build the sentiments that say Happy Mother's Day, Happy Father's Day, Happy Easter, Happy Halloween, Happy Thanksgiving, and Happy Valentine's Day. There's also a set in the shop called Happy Occasion Words, which includes more holiday word dies and another unique tag. So I'm going to show you the card that I created for my husband for Father's Day. I'm going to make this tag into a paisley tie. To do this, I'm using the clear stamp of the month called Paisley Bouquet. And I'm just going to stamp out a paisley pattern on this tag using some more of the Prize Ribbon Distress Oxide ink. So I'm trying to cover most of the area of this tag. A lot of them are going to be stamped off the edge of it, just to allow the pattern to look like it continues. So this tag really reminded me of a tie, at least on the bottom edge that is pointed. And then I'm going to kind of alter the top of it to make it look like a knot. But I need to fill the edges a little bit more, so I'll just take the tip of the paisley stamp and cover that up. And then there are 2 more blank edges here I just got to fill up. And 1 more there on the right. Okay, so now this is ready to turn into a tie. I used a hexagon die to cut out this piece, but I'm going to cut it down a little bit so that it looks like the knot. And then to make this stand out a little bit better, I'm going to bring in the Prize Ribbon Distress Oxide ink again and just add a little bit of shading under the knot. I'll also add shading to the bottom edge of the knot. Now it's starting to look a little more like a tie. And then I am going to pop up the knot just to give it even more dimension. Let's ink blend on the bottom of the knot here. And then I will trim off the top edge of this tag die. So now we can put down the knot. And this is going to be a mini slimline card. It will measure 3.5 by 6.5 once it's done. I'm going to glue down the Cosmic Sky blue cardstock onto a piece of really fun corrugated cardstock. Unfortunately, Spellbinders doesn't sell this anymore in the shop. So I'm just kind of hoarding my last few sheets that I have of this in my stash. I'll glue the tie down flat. And then I cut out my sentiments with some white cardstock, and I'll glue that right down the middle of the tie. And it just says Happy Father's Day in a very pretty font. Now I can glue it onto the white card base. And I will leave a bit of a white border around the corrugated cardstock. So it has several layers. I think that just adds a lot of fun interest to this card. It's a very clean and simple card, but I love how it turned out. I do decide to add a few blue glossy accents to this. And that's all there is to this card. As always, I'll have the links to these products that I used to create these cards today listed in the description box. And here is a close-up look at the finished card. I hope you enjoyed this video and were inspired to sit down and create some fun cards of your own today. So take another look at the dies you have in your stash and see if there's any fun ways that you can mix and match your dies or use them in a way that is unique and how they weren't intended to be used. It's so much fun. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.